You've got your longbow parked in the back, or depending on battle value, maybe multiple longbows, maybe multiple long-range missile carriers, mechs and vehicles that are focused on one specific role. You're taking all that battle value, pouring it all into that piece. And in doing so, we want to do two things. First, and the primary, is make sure that every turn we're pushing that battle value out, raining down real-time hundreds and hundreds of long-range missiles. Second to that, we want to be able to protect it. We want to be able to utilize it fully. What we see with machines and mechs that are very highly specialized, they're vulnerable to everything else. So naturally, there's a dual threat, a dual target, in that your opponent is going to say, I can't have hundreds of missiles raining down every single turn. Yet at the same time, I have to stop that. I have to get up there. And if they are able to engage, in this example, the longbow, if they're able to engage, it's going to fold pretty fast. You don't have a lot of armor. Okay, you've got some lasers, but the longbow is meant to be fire support. The longbow is meant to push out. Same thing with a long-range missile carrier, perhaps even less so. It doesn't have speed. It doesn't have armor. It doesn't have any secondary weapons. You'll be in under the minimum range. I mean, if you close with even a Jenner to an LRM carrier, the LRM carrier is in a lot of trouble. So tactically speaking, what we want to look at is a blocking unit. There's many terms for this. We're just calling it a blocking unit right now. This is a unit that sits back with, in this case, the longbow, and projects that sphere of influence. So if you're going to send that Jenner up to engage my LRM carrier, or you're going to send a heavy mech up to deal with my longbow, I have a unit that can move out and drive it off or put on significant damage, essentially allowing my longbow to add that firepower. If I can stop you 10 hexes away, if I can move that unit out, keep you 10 hexes away, that unit will pound on you, and then my longbow will pound on you and either destroy you or drive you off. This blocking unit, this bodyguard unit, the key to this is, of course, battle value, because we don't want it to be so expensive that it takes away, right? It takes away from the rest of our force, our active force that's going to be going out and engaging. Because in theory, it's going to be sitting back with the longbow, and it might not necessarily have the range. It's going to be sitting there back with the longbow for a number of game turns. That's battle value that's not optimally utilized. Second to that, if it does get destroyed, okay, so you destroy my blocking unit, I put the hurt on, the longbow finishes you off. I don't want to trade 1-to-1, right? I don't want to trade a 1,000-point mech for a 1,000-point mech. And blocking units could be many things. We're going to look at a couple of ideas in order to explore and utilize those pieces in your game based on your collection. So we want to crunch those numbers and find something that's effective. So what makes a good blocking unit? Hover units. They're generally cheaper. They have speed. So the other thing with a blocking unit is if you can get rear armor, that's massive. That's massive. And rear armor is a little bit easier with the tag teaming, because if I have a longbow or I have two longbows and you're looking to engage, I mean, if you have a Warhammer, if you have a Battlemaster and you go up against two longbows, you're probably going to slag me. Just, I don't have the armor. I'm essentially packed maximum with tons and tons of missiles. And my primary weapons, the long-range missile 20 packs, they're in each arm. There's hardly any ammo. Any armor. You know, the first time you print out the longbow sheet, you're looking at the tech sheet and you're like, there must be a mistake. It must have cut off a lot of armor bubbles. Like, no, everything battle value and tonnage-wise is going into the weapons system. So you're going to want to keep, the opponent is going to want to keep that forward facing of the mech towards your longbow, because it's going to eat some shots. That's perfect to get rear armor if you have something fast enough. So with a blocking unit, we either want something really fast and really cheap, like hover units, although some can get pricey, but there's a number of choices. Or you want something with maximum alpha damage. At higher battle value games, I will take a Demolisher. I'll take a Demolisher as my blocking unit because it has armor to sit there and just blast away. It has 2 autocannon 20s. That's a massive threat. And if it does get motive hit or immobilized, it has a turret. So often what I'll do is push it up maybe a little bit early once you've decided to commit, and you have to navigate past that. But whether it's hover or heavier tanks, we got to look at battle value. Another great mech that if we had to take a mech, usually I use vehicles because they're a little bit cheaper and more focused. But if I had to take a mech, a Jenner works great for this. Simply because the Jenner has the speed to get behind, to get rear armor, has a crazy amount of weapons. You push the heat a turn or two, that's fantastic. And for some reason, if the tactics changed, or if your opponent decides not to go after your longbow, or it could be other support units in the back, could be a Jaeger mech or something like that. If they decide not to go against that, and they might not, then the Jenner has the speed and the efficiency to break off and now maybe join up with your primary lance. 2 other kind of footnotes related to a blocking unit, building on a blocking unit, but if we don't want to run a blocking unit, positioning is key of the longbow. Give yourself somewhere to go. So if we're playing on a hex map, yes, if I can indirect fire, the best place on a hex map would be to have the longbow on a hill. So this way I can see out and I can project maximum threat with the missiles. And if I needed to, I can climb down the hill and hit you with indirect. City fight, city tech, completely different scenario. But just kind of general catalyst, generic hex maps. Giving yourself someplace to go, modified by terrain. If I'm castled up in the corner, that means the corner of the hex map. That means if you move forward and you engage me, I don't really have anywhere to go in terms of backpedaling. I don't really have anywhere to go. If I can kind of hang out in the middle of the board or a little bit off middle left or right, now I can move to the left, I can move to the right. Also, I don't necessarily want to be on the back edge. I'd like to be forward a little bit. This way, pulling back. I have somewhere to go. Offense is a good defense. My 2 theories in wargaming: big guns never tire, and when in doubt, attack. If you're not really sure what to do this turn, or you don't know what your opponent's going to do, full attack. Full attack. Another way to prevent your longbow or back assets from being hit is just go crazy and attack with everything. Keep your opponent so busy, so tied in, that they have to deal with that.